this meeting to order. And Karen, could we have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Roberts,
Here.
Commissioner Huntash,
Here.
Commissioner Husnick,
Here.
Commissioner Finneman,
Here.
Commissioner Lorge, Commissioner Erickson,
Here.
and President Bain.
Here. And ask all of you to shut your video if you wish, and please rise and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. Wait just a minute. There we go. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everybody. We're going to continue these remote meetings. I'm going to consider having a guest come and do the pledge for us because the sequencing and cadence always gets a little off, goes a little off, but thank you. Still an important part of our meeting. Members of the EDA, you have an agenda before you. I will entertain a motion to approve that agenda or any changes.
I move to approve. Mark Finneman.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second from Member Huntash. All those in favor, Karen, can we have a roll call vote, please?
Yep. Commissioner Roberts,
Pardon me. Yes.
yes. Commissioner Huntash,
Yes.
Commissioner Husnick,
Aye.
Commissioner Finneman,
Yes.
Commissioner Erickson,
Yes.
President Bain.
Aye. Agenda is approved. First item, number 5 on your agenda is to approve the meeting minutes from March 9th. That was our EDA meeting. Is there a motion to approve or any changes?
I would move to approve. Finneman.
Second.
Okay.
Okay.
And a second from Member Erickson. And Karen, could we have a roll call vote, please?
And Commissioner Roberts,
Aye.
Commissioner Huntash,
Abstain. I was absent.
Commissioner Husnick,
Aye.
Commissioner Finneman,
Aye.
Commissioner Erickson,
Aye.
President Bain.
Aye. Motion carries. Next item on our agenda, approve the minutes from the April 27th EDA workshop. I will entertain a motion or any changes.
Let's make a motion to approve.
Motion from Commissioner Husnick. Is there a second?
Finneman, second.
And a second from Finneman. And Karen, one more roll call vote, please.
Sure. Commissioner Roberts,
Aye.
Commissioner Husnick,
Aye.
Commissioner Huntash,
Abstain.
Commissioner Finneman,
Aye.
Commissioner Erickson,
Aye.
President Bain.
Aye. Motion approved. Our next item on the agenda this evening is a resolution to accept a donation for the Downtown Beautification Group from the Hallberg Family Foundation. Dan, do you want to tee this one up for us?
Sure. President, members of the EDA, before you is Resolution 05-2620-01, which formally accepts a donation from the Hallberg Family Foundation for $2,000 for the Downtown Beautification Group project. In speaking with members of the group, it sounds like this money has been earmarked for public art or wave additional like Welcome to Forest Lake signage. So by accepting this resolution, we'll put that money into an account that is will be designated for that purpose. But this is a donation for the Hallberg Family Foundation to kind of help with some public art in the downtown area. Staff recommendation is to approve the resolution and accept the donation at this time.
Finneman, could I just ask a question?
Please.
So once this money is received, I assume through the EDA, then the Downtown Beautification Group would make recommendations to the EDA as to how they'd like to spend that?
Yeah, as far, I mean, there was, from what I had gathered from conversations with the group was that there was intention behind this money. It wasn't just give $2,000 to spend on anything. There was like, they wanted it earmarked for or purposed for public art or a welcome to forest selection is what I gathered. So that's what we would use it for in the future. When we get a project like that on the table, we'd use this money for something to that effect as one comes forward.
Again, are we depending on that particular group to bring forward that particular idea?
I mean, I think we'd work with them to see, to make sure it all fits within, you know, the plans for downtown. You know, they'd have a seat at the table. I don't think they'd be the driver behind it, but they'd have a seat at the table having a conversation about it.
So that would be an agenda item for the EDA in the future, and we would discuss it, and they would be participants. I wanted them to have the authority of being the Downtown Beautification Group, bringing forward their ideas. That's, I was curious.
Yeah, I mean, they definitely would be. It wouldn't happen outside of that. That group would be as part of that conversation the whole time.
Other questions related to the resolution before us? Maybe just as a point of related topic as it relates to the Downtown Beautification Group, we have talked about, you know, this started off as a pilot project of the EDA, but we have talked about ongoing funding needing to come from public works funds, and that this is, you know, as it related to the specific funding of the flowers and the planters and the other items that are part of that Downtown Beautification Group, we desired that to be a budget line item as part of public works beyond the initial funding that was and support that was done by the EDA. I think because this donation has some restrictions around it, around its use, and because the EDA still, you know, we'll talk in a future agenda item here yet this evening about next steps for the downtown committee. I think it makes sense for this to be an accepted donation of the EDA, but just know again that this intent is still that those routine dollars related to the maintenance of those efforts become a standalone budget item as part of the overall city rather than an EDA item. Okay, I think it's consistent with what our plans have been around those efforts. There's happy to entertain any other questions on this topic or an entertain or a motion to approve.
Madam Chair, this is Husnick, and I'd make a motion that we accept resolution number 05-20-20-1 with acknowledgement and gratitude.
There is a motion. Is there a second?
And I will second
Commissioner
it.
Huntash.
I
We
will
have a
second.
motion, a second. Any further discussion on this item? I'll just emphasize with gratitude and acknowledgement. Thank you very much. And Karen, could we have a roll call vote, please?
Commissioner Roberts,
Aye.
Commissioner Huntash,
Aye.
Commissioner Husnick,
Aye.
Commissioner Finneman,
Aye.
Commissioner Erickson,
Aye.
President Bain.
Aye.
If you can hear
Motion
me,
approved.
this is Jenny. Can you hear me?
Oh, Jenny,
We can.
I didn't know you popped in there.
I'm on, so, and I vote yes, aye.
Excellent. Thanks for jumping in.
Yep.
Okay, motion approved. We are moving on to item number 8, which is an update on the business videos that we had discussed in our last workshop. I believe we've got a world premiere. I like that title. Dan and Paul, do you want to give us an update?
Absolutely, President, members of the EDA. I'll give you an update on the business video, and I'll turn it over to Paul to kind of give a little bit more on the methodology he used to kind of create the first video. And then we'll do the world premiere of the first business video. If you recall, a few meetings ago, we discussed the downtown initiative, and one component of that was to offer video services, video production services to local businesses. We partnered with LATV and the Forest Lake Chamber of Commerce for the creation of these videos. When we launched the Digital Downtown Initiative, part of the sign-up form was they could see if they were interested in requesting a video. We had a total of 20 come back. So 20 businesses are currently interested in having a video produced for them. However, kind of given the conditions that everybody sees right now due to COVID-19, we kind of wanted to wait until we got to more of a normal setting within the local businesses. So we started launching started producing those videos. Again, they'll have a longer shelf life if they're produced in more normal settings versus right now, which is sort of everybody's really responding to the COVID-19 pandemic. However, we did want to create a kind of a gap fill video to kind of show the cities, these businesses' response to the pandemic. And that is what the video that will be shown here in a moment is. The production schedule that we're kind of tentatively looking at will launch probably later in the summer or early in the fall. Again, those dates are going to be sort of flexible, just kind of depending upon what happens, based on the COVID-19, where that is, kind of business response, et cetera. But that's kind of our penciled in start time for that. We'll kind of go back through, take a look at what's needed from a production standpoint and get timelines together so we can get those videos produced in a fashion. With that, I'd be happy to introduce Paul Peterson, who actually did the video production behind this, and kind of have him introduce the video, and we'll kick off the world premiere.
Thank you, Dan. That's pretty much summed it up for the most part. Yeah, initially we kind of talked about highlighting businesses, telling their stories, which would just kind of help the community. And so I got together with Nan as soon as we finished our meeting, and she started sharing with me some of the stories of what these businesses were going through and how they were being kind of innovative on how they were getting through this. And that kind of sparked the interest, and we decided it might be a better idea to kind of tell those stories of these people are getting very innovative to stay alive. And so that's kind of where we decided to go off with it, at least on this first one, because we discussed it, we discussed talking about highlighting businesses, and nobody's normal. So how do you make a video that's relevant and helps anybody a month from now? So that will probably be where we go in the future. I even, when you're talking about your downtown beautification group, I mean, that sounds like a really cool video to talk about how you're helping to make downtown more welcoming, and even, highlight your thinking behind projects and stuff like that. So in the future, it can go anywhere, but that's just kind of where this first one started off, with Nanette sharing with me stories, because she knew all these businesses and she started telling them, and it was great. So she organized it all just spectacularly. I had to do nothing for that. All these people, we set it up in the new studio we built in the high school. We did it all green screen, so they could just walk in the door, walk right to where they were going to be interviewed. She would stand 10 feet away from them by the camera. I'm standing in the corner. They would come in, they would answer questions. She would get them to cry a little bit, and then they would leave. And her and I discussed a little bit beforehand, kind of how to get the stories out of people, but she had no problem. These were very different ways of attacking this, but all very creative ways of attacking the problem that they're going through. So I thought it came out really good. So then I just set up, or Nan again set up time for me to go. I took one day and went and shot a little bit of B-roll at each business to kind of highlight what they're talking about. And then I used my phone and just shot a little bit of their store, made it look like kind of like they're sitting in their store as best I could. And that's where it's at.
So the only thing you actually shot in store was the B-roll. Like, I watched all of those interviews and assumed you were just on site. That's great.
No, and we actually initially talked about going to them, but then to keep safe, the amount of gear I have to bring to make it look good to each place, it kind of seemed crazy. So I thought, we just finished this gorgeous studio. Let's just try it. So no, they all came to me, and it was scheduled very bam, bam, bam. They came in a half hour apart. We did them and they went out. So it went really, really well.
Great use of that space.
Now, hopefully this works, but I'll start the video now. So cross my fingers that technology won't fail me now.
We were sitting at home. Alex was with me. The boys were with me. The boys were just sitting on the couch. They were none the wiser. They had their toys out and everything. And, we're listening to Governor Walz declare that was the last day that restaurants were allowed to have dine-in customers.
That whole week was very scary. And it was just watching the news and seeing what's going on, and people aren't coming through the door, and immediately people were afraid to come in.
Certainly paying attention to the news around the world and all that kind of stuff, seeing that things were moving around and it was likely to end up here.
The media was starting the hype of, more COVID in their newscasts, more and more.
Before the governor came on and told everybody to stay at home, that I had already been thinking for weeks what might happen, how it might affect us.
The second time when it really, really hit me was the day when I opened up the store with my crew and I didn't put the chairs down at the tables. To have people come in and then to not have them stay, to not have them sit. I was not okay with it. To be perfectly honest, I wasn't okay with it. I wanted to put those chairs down so bad.
I mean, you go through all the emotions, let me tell you. But that first week is definitely panic. And what should I do? I have a very small staff of 4. And my first thought was them, wanting to keep them on, but knowing for me, I can't keep a staff if I can't pay them.
We had come back from a RE/MAX convention out in Vegas. We were actually preparing for another event in the Wisconsin Dells, thinking we're all fine, and the night before the call comes in. We're canceling the event. They're restricting all travel for all of our trainers in the company. Oh boy, this stuff's about to get real.
On the first day, which happened to be St. Patrick's Day, we went from a sit-down restaurant to a to-go restaurant.
There is the thinking that I do about my family, kids, grandkids, all that sort of stuff. And then there's the employees and, what are we going to do? What's the right thing to do? Obviously, there's no playbook.
Just tried to reiterate to people that this is what we have to do to keep people safe.
Your first thoughts go to your employees. I held on to them for that week and then decided by that next Friday to actually lay them off. But that was the hardest thing for me to do.
Obviously, we're all fully aware, and us in real estate more than most, how we had that downturn in the market in the mid-2000s. Unfortunately for me, I went through a great state of depression. I was diagnosed, clinically depressed, and I stayed in that state for about 4 years. That was a dark part in my life, and so I didn't want to return there. As a matter of fact, I had a conversation with my wife this morning, and she was nervous. She said when this came in, she was watching me to see if any of that would return, and she's thankful that it hasn't, that I've been very positive.
When you sign up to own a small business, you don't sign up for medical pandemics. You don't sign up for people not wanting to interact with other people because of what they may have.
There were some employees that were devastated, completely confused, didn't know if this was going to put us out of business, didn't know how it was going to affect their job, if they were going to have a job anymore.
Communication was the first thing we started working on, is how do we make sure that we keep people up to speed with what's going on? What do we expect of them? We had some areas where we had to modify work settings a little bit to get people spread out a little bit. Any office people, anybody that could work off of a laptop at home, we've got all those folks out working at home instead of coming into the facility.
I remember I woke up really early that day when I made that first post. We can't have you here with us right now. It's kind of heartbreaking. I needed to let people know that we were still going to be around.
So immediately we started to do live videos on Facebook, lots of different posts of our clothes. And how that works is we do a live video and then we do sales off of that. So they comment on the style that they want, the size that they want, if they want it shipped. And we immediately also did curbside pickup right away. The only sales that we're getting right now are from our live videos. It's been difficult.
The faucet shuts off today. Real estate's going to start seeing the effects of it going forward. I think there are solutions to get these businesses open, let them run their business to some capacity. It's different. It won't look the same. But by letting them do that, we'll have a lesser impact on our future economy, because I think that is what I worry about the most.
Some people are scared to death. I could get sick. What's going to happen? We didn't want to have any of those people feel like they had to show up for work. We want them to do what they're comfortable with. We've got other people who are just as afraid of not having a job and not having a check next week, and they're equally as severe and concerned. And so we tried to figure out how do we make sure that we support everybody.
It was super duper freaky to realize that sales had dropped 60 to 70%. There is no way to prepare for that. If my husband and I can't keep our businesses afloat, then that's going to create stress that we're not prepared to handle and that our kids clearly aren't prepared to handle.
We essentially had 10,000 transactions in the pipeline ready to close. So you could imagine if we shut down real estate, that would affect 20,000 families.
I've been in the business for 4 years. And we just moved to our new location in July, right downtown. It's really kind of the first time that I saw some good success with the business. And then all of a sudden, boom. So it's like, oh, I just was almost there, and then this happened. So, that was pretty tough.
The shutting down of the bar and restaurant instantly lopped 40% off our revenue because of the bar. We set some goals right away. I mean, day one, that our goal was to see if we could sell 60% of our normal food sales, and we've exceeded that. So we've had days where we've actually sold more than we have in the past.
But then, amazingly enough, we had these days where we were surpassing sales that we did on the same day a year ago.
We've got customers that are in dire need of our work to fight the COVID-19 virus. We build plastic injection molds, all of the test kits, the PPE, some of the visors and things like that, the face masks, the N95 masks that 3M makes. We build tools for them. We had to kind of prioritize things, make sure that we're working on the most important stuff first.
We've come up with a lot of creative ways to show properties and not expose people. If you're absolutely worried about going out to look at properties, we can actually do virtual showings. We can send an agent out ahead of time by themselves to film the home, and we're virtually with our client at the same time, pointing our phone around the home, going over it. A lot of our agents are carrying gloves, and they're carrying the hand sanitizers, and they're the ones that are opening and closing the doors throughout the home, and the client's not. We're wearing masks if they feel like that.
There are many ways that we will get the bagels to the people. For the first time ever since we've owned Big Apple, we are doing residential delivery, but we also have our mobile app. It makes online ordering super duper easy, and they can request for a delivery or they can request for carryout. If they don't want to come in the store, there's a space for people to leave a note that says, curbside pickup. And then I also set up a pickup shelf. It's right when they walk in the door. They can't miss it. And they just look for their name, they grab it, and they go, and they're out within a minute. It's another way to accommodate those reasonable fears of not wanting to be in a place for too long, or just wanting to grab it and go, to have as little contact as possible.
We have been practicing, all the things that we're supposed to be doing, the disinfecting. We are going to be wearing masks. We're going to ask our customers to wear masks. We're going to have a sanitation station when you first walk in. We generally leave the clothes in the room if they've been tried on for 24 hours. And then we have a separate rack, and we steam everything at a high temperature. And then we are just arranging our front desk to be a little bit different, so there's more distance between us and the customer.
We treat every phone order as if it's a reservation. When we tell you it's going to be ready at 6:15, it's going to be ready at 6:15. When you pull in after placing your order, you tell us what time you'd like to come, and then you pull into a numbered parking spot. You give us a call and say, I'm in spot number 2, and then we can bring it out. And people have loved it. We've gotten lots of great feedback on our whole process.
I have my immediate family that's relying on me. I have my work family that's relying on me. We need to do a good job. We need to get things right. If we underestimate the danger, somebody could be sick, somebody could die. Certainly don't want to be responsible for that. So we got to make sure that we're trying to do the very best we can to get it right. And I think the truth is that nobody's got the right answers.
If someone would have told me that I would have left teaching to help run a bakery, I would have told them they were nuts. And I fell in love with that place the moment I stepped through the door to start working and helping out there, which was almost 5 years ago.
I don't think people are going to be wanting to go to these big malls and be around a lot of people right now. I know that our place is going to be that place to be safe, more one-on-one, not a lot of people. So that's what I'm thinking is, as the optimistic silver lining.
We just really need to listen. We need to be a better listener than we ever have. hearing what they're saying and really trying to offer solutions for them. We create a lot of good friendships with these people, so we really want to help them out. We really want to help them get out of those dark places. So I certainly lived there way too long, and I wouldn't wish that on anybody.
I love my store. I love my employees. I love my customers. I love the products I love talking to people. I get so excited when brand new people come into the store.
I can't wait to hear the sounds, hear the hustle and bustle, the murmur, the clanking of the plates, the things like that. It's going to be cool.
I get sad when I think about my customers because we have a lot of great relationships with them and we miss them. So we can't wait to get back to normal whatever that is.
We're going to survive this somehow or another. I don't know exactly how it's going to go, but we're going to figure out how to make things work, and we'll come out probably stronger at the end of this whole thing in the end. I've got a good team of people, and they're doing the right stuff and trying to get their work done as best they can under the circumstances, and we'll hope for a better day.
Wow.
Great job.
Thank you. And again, that was just to try and start with. I mean, you got to show they got scared, and then they tried some things, and then at the end they're hopeful, and just kind of to show. And I just think that was a kind of a cool. Nan started telling me the stories they were doing on, Stella's instantly 2 weeks before anything even happened. He had his parking lot mapped out and figured out a way that his employees could do this safely, So as I started hearing all this and going, all right, this is kind of cool. Let's just share that. These people are doing neat things. So that's all. And yes, in the future, they'll be different, but that seemed like a cool story to tell right now. And it was kind of the world premiere, but I put it up last Friday and we've got about 1,500 people that have watched it so far. So it's not quite the world premiere, but sorry.
Before we talk about other videos and in the future, Nan, as you see how this first one's come together, what are your thoughts on how that gets best used by the chamber? I'm interested in the EDA members' thoughts on how that particular film gets used. And then obviously the next question is going to be what else should we do next, and how do we take that ability that's been demonstrated? But I'm interested in just this first one on thoughts on utilization of that, and maybe any feedback that you've heard on how we might use that to feature what's happening in the community.
Did you say Nan or Dan?
Nan, I was intending you first, but I'm interested also in certainly Dan's feedback or other members of the EDA's feedback on this gem. What should we do with this gem? And then we can talk about what do we do next.
Well, I shared it, of course, with the once it was on LA TV. I'm like, okay, I'm going with it. I needed a positive that day, and I'm like, I don't care. I'm just going with it. And so I put it on the chamber Facebook page and sent it out to the 5 individuals that participated, and just, again, that story would never have been told without their willingness. And I pushed them really to get. He told me to push them so that they would cry. So I did. And so, it really, I'm just so proud of this piece because I feel like it highlights such amazing, all of you, all the business folks that are on this call and in our community. There's lots and lots of other stories, but I just am so proud of it. So with that, yes, it's already been making its rounds on Facebook. I'm going to be putting it up on our website as well. And each of the individuals has been sharing it as well, but I'm certainly open to, I really do feel like it's a feel-good story. I've shared it with Senator Housley as well, because I knew she'd be interested in this. And so I'll probably share it with the chamber community at large as well, because Paul did such a dang good job. It's just too good not to share. So, but I'm open to other suggestions as well. So
Nan made it easy.
We're a good team. It was fun. It actually was, Blake knows because I was there when, with all the days of going and saying goodbye to folks as they close their doors really does get a little taxing on one. I quit after Blake. I said, that's it. I'm not going anymore. He was my last one, face to face. But to have something that's so positive is just really a good shot in the arm. And the experience, they came in and we had thought through every component of it so that we could still stay safe, right? And make sure that they had a good experience. And it was a definitely, I would say, those 2 days in the studio with Paul and these folks was the highlight of my last 2.5 months, whatever it's been. So.
And we did. So we sent maps to them all to show them the exact layout where they would walk in. We put giant signs outside. We told them all we were going to do to keep them safe. So there was no worry when they came in, and they knew it was kind of up to them. There was masks at the front door when they walked in if they wanted them. There was sanitizer. So just to make everybody kind of comfortable. And this is kind of one of those careful what you wish for. So I kind of coached Nan how to try and get stuff out of these people. Well, she got over 3 hours of answers out of them that I had to cut down to 10 minutes. And that was really kind of brutal because all of the answers were spectacular. And they went into great deal on, details on a lot of things that was really hard to rip out. But, I'm 4 edits in and it's still 25 minutes long. I'm going, this is just nuts. So it got brutal at the end there. But yeah, she did really good at getting them just to kind of open up. It was cool.
That's great. Any other questions of the group or thoughts on what we should do with this particular video before we talk about creating some more, Judy? Go ahead.
So we can find this on the chamber site and then share it on our Facebook page?
Yep, it's on right now it's on LATV as well as the chamber.
Okay,
Facebook pages.
Perfect.
And just a quick note, Jenny mentioned last meeting that podcast might be kind of good for realtors. And I did research that the next day, and that is completely set up and ready to go. So I set up a channel for LATV to upload them all to, and I went and bought the server or rented the server, whatever you call it. And so anytime they want to figure out how to record that can be a Zoom meeting, that can be come into the studio and you all sit on opposite sides of a table. It can be whatever people are comfortable, but because like she was saying, real estate is changing every other day. So, and they have those conversations. So if you're interested in some kind of podcast thing, those are pretty easy to put out. You just limit yourself to the time you want to limit it to and do it. And it can be we can even do them live or just push them live an hour later. And that's an easy link to share. So if you're interested in that, I did set that up right after the last meeting.
Thanks, Paul.
Paul, if we had businesses that were interested in recording a podcast, but just a little nervous have never done it before, don't know what to expect, do you have some, kind of the crash course podcast 101 that you can kind of coach folks through? Because I think it's easier than people expect, but it's a new format, and just like new formats, people get nervous and aren't necessarily comfortable reaching out. Do you have some things that can kind of get people over that hump and
I do
using that resource? Okay.
I do. I have tons, and it's very easy to make them. It's very hard to make them interesting. So I do have a lot of advice resources to show them. And if you just plan them well and bring in interesting guests and keep it on topic for the most part, you want to go off a little bit because that's funny. People think that's cool, but there's ways to keep it interesting and do it in a very strategic way that it's not tough. And I have tons of resources that I can send to people depending on the business they're trying to promote or what they're trying to do with it. Yes, I do. And again, that can be recorded. If they're nervous, they can do it on a Zoom meeting. You can do it on a conference call. It's going to sound like that. So that is what it is. If you come into the studio or we do it somewhere else, it can sound very high end, just kind of depending on how they want to do it. That's a little more work. So if you're going to do them a few times a week, you maybe don't want to go through that. If you want to just all log in and Zoom and talk about it and I record it and edit it really quick and throw it up, I can do that too. So.
I think the challenging part of that media format is there's an audio production need that if you're able to fill that gap, I think whatever we can do to get the message out that that's an available technology. If there are segments where that is of interest and create some value, I think we should really market that and get the word out that that is one of the resources that is available with LATV. I just think people don't think about that. There's some interest level, but I think yeah.
The part that's hardest for me is what Nan knocked it out of the park with, is to get these people. I mean, within 3 days, she had them set up, coming in and scheduled. And if you do that, I can do the rest. That's the hardest part for me to go. I don't know these people. I don't know the message they want to tell. She already knew their stories and she just lined it up very quickly. So that's the toughest part, is just the organizational part. I can do all of the rest. That's not a problem.
Well, I've kind of taken us down this. Go ahead, Fran, go ahead. And I think you're on mute. Fran, are you on mute? Yeah.
Am I still on mute?
We hear you now.
Okay. When we talk future videos and then we talk podcasts, are we talking about the same thing?
You're not talking about the same thing. You can do a podcast as a video, yes. And I can do that just as well. I've got great setups for that. Those are a little more close quarters because we're filming them, but it's just an audio podcast that you can download off of iTunes or Amazon. And so I went and submitted the server I bought to those places. So it would just be, you could go onto iTunes and search out Lakes Area TV podcast, and the ones you're recording, we would categorize them and people could find them very quickly. They're just something you listen to on your phone when you're walking, or, I mean, I get in my car, my phone connects to my car and my podcast just starts. So, I mean,
I understand the distinction. Thank you.
Okay. Sorry, I have a
I
tendency
took us down
to
the rabbit
over-explain.
hole of, yeah, I took us down the rabbit hole of podcast. Maybe let's bring the conversation back to videos and next steps. So I'm interested in thoughts on, so with that foundation that we set with this first video, thoughts on next steps on how do we turn this from a feature story about the community to a specific asset that's bringing some value to some Forest Lake businesses. Thoughts on what that might look like and how we might help prioritize that?
Well, I think we already have a list, so that helps. You know, we have 20 that are interested. So it's a guy, you know, I think with some guided conversation, the stories can be pulled out. Because I agree, the whole goal of this at the beginning wasn't to create COVID video, right, Dan? We just went that direction because is what it is right now. But even within that, you know, we have lots of great stories that are not COVID related, that are just, you know, that come up as I'm aware of lots of great stories that, so I think with some guided conversation, it would be really easy to come up with and I know the intention of those is much shorter, right, Paul? You don't want 20 hours of video.
Yes. Well, and also Dan and I talked a little bit earlier today, if you want to just talk relevance right now, people are wondering